The rain poured hard against the glass walls of the 31st floor, streaking down like silver threads. Inside the sleek, quiet office, the ticking of a vintage clock filled the room as you stood by the window, arms crossed, your expression unreadable. Seoul's skyline shimmered beneath the storm, yet your eyes were fixed on one spot on the screen in front of you. A close-up of a young man's face, raw with emotion, tears clinging to his lashes as he delivered a line that shouldn't have hit you this hard. I don't care if I lose everything, I just don't want to lose her. You didn't blink. That rookie actor, what was his name again? Hyunjin. Just Hyunjin. No one knew his last name. No one cared. Not yet. He had barely debuted. Just one supporting role in a cable drama that aired past midnight, low ratings and zero buzz. But you had stumbled on the episode while scrolling through channels last night, insomnia gnawing at you again. You never expected a scene like that to stop you in your tracks. It wasn't the dialogue, it was the way he said it. Like it mattered. Like it was real. You turned away from the screen and pressed the button on your desk intercom. Bring me everything you can find on Hyunjin. Your assistant paused. Hyunjin? The actor? Yes. Silence. Then, right away, you sat down, not understanding it yourself. You'd been in this office too long, surrounded by business deals, mergers, cold coffees, and colder conversations. Feelings had no place here, but something about Hyunjin unsettled that calm. It reminded you, annoyingly, that you were still human underneath the sharp suits and perfect lipstick. Hyunjin, meanwhile, was unaware of the ripple he had caused in the highest towers of Seoul's entertainment empire. He was exhausted. His schedule wasn't packed like top stars, but he was juggling part-time jobs and auditions that went nowhere. His manager had ghosted him 2 months ago, and today, after finishing a barista shift that left his hands sore and smelling like burnt espresso, he had gotten a call from an unknown number. Hyunjin SSI, you have a meeting. 5 p.m. tomorrow. Seonhwa Tower. Seonhwa? Isn't that where? The CEO wants to meet you. CEO of what? Click. He stared at his phone, dumbfounded. CEOs didn't call rookies. They didn't call at all. Something didn't make sense, but his curiosity won. He arrived the next day in his best, only blazer, nervous but curious. The receptionist's eyes widened when he said his name. Please wait here. She's expecting you. That didn't narrow it down. When the elevator opened on the 31st floor, he stepped into silence. The kind of silence that echoes. The kind that makes you feel like you don't belong. You looked up from your desk as he walked in. He bowed quickly, a little awkward. Hello, I'm Hyunjin. I, got a call to come here. You nodded, studying him. He looked younger in person. Slim, a little too pale, hair slightly messy like he'd rushed here. But those eyes, they were exactly the same. Honest, open, vulnerable, dangerous in a way that only people who don't know their own power can be. I saw your drama, you said, folding your hands. You're good. He blinked. Oh, thank you. I want to sign you. He stiffened. Excuse me? I want to manage you. Exclusively. My company will handle everything: scripts, image, promotions. In return, you work only with us. Hyunjin stared at you like you were speaking another language. But why me? I don't even have fans yet. Or experience. There are better actors out there. You stood, walking around your desk slowly. They act like stars. You act like a person. That's what makes you different. He didn't know what to say to that. You stopped in front of him, close enough to see the way his lashes trembled. So, Hyunjin, do you want to be a star? He nodded slowly. Then trust me. He did. Against all logic, he signed the contract that night. His life began to change faster than he could keep up with. Photo shoots, stylists, better scripts. Suddenly, people started to recognize him. Not by name, but with curiosity. Isn't that the guy from? You kept your distance. Always professional, always precise. You showed up at every shoot, always in a tailored suit, always with a phone in hand. But when the cameras weren't on, Hyunjin would sometimes catch you staring. Not at his face, but at something deeper. like you were searching for something, or someone. He wondered about you, your past, why someone so powerful looked so lonely. You were cold, yes, distant, but not cruel. He saw the way your fingers curled into your palm when someone shouted at a staff member. He noticed how your expression softened for a split second when he messed up a line and laughed nervously. You never smiled, but your eyes did, just barely. And then, one rainy night, everything changed. Hyunjin had just wrapped filming a night scene. The set had cleared, but his ride was late. You had stayed longer than usual, and when you saw him standing alone in the rain, holding his script above his head like a useless umbrella, you walked over without a word and handed him your coat. He looked at you, stunned. "Won't you get wet?" You shrugged. "I don't mind." He stared at you, silent, then finally said, "You're not as cold as people say." You raised an eyebrow. "Is that a compliment?" "I think so," he smiled. You looked away. "Well, don't spread it around. I have a reputation." He laughed. That laugh stayed with you. Later that night, back at the office, you sat at your desk again. But this time, your fingers hovered over your phone. You wanted to text him, just to ask if he got home safe. But you didn't. You couldn't. You were the CEO. You weren't supposed to need anyone. But you were already falling. And that scared you more than anything. Hyunjin didn't understand you. Not really. You were like a locked room, always composed, always 2 steps ahead. But he noticed the cracks. The little things. How your shoulders tensed slightly before meetings. How you avoided eye contact when you gave compliments. How you always left early when the staff had dinner together. He started to wonder if you were lonely. He wanted to ask. But it wasn't his place. Until one night it was after an award show. Hyunjin hadn't won anything. Not yet. But he'd been invited as a rising actor, and just being there made him feel like he belonged somewhere. You showed up, late as usual, dressed in a black gown that was all sharp lines and quiet power. He had seen you in suits so many times. It threw him off. For a second, he just stared. "You clean up well," you said, glancing over his tuxedo. He smiled. "You too. I mean, you always look good. But, yeah." You smirked. "You're nervous." "Of course I am. I'm standing next to my boss." "I'm not your boss tonight." You said it so casually, like it meant nothing. But Hyunjin caught the weight in your voice. Later, after the event ended and the after-parties began, you disappeared. No one noticed. But Hyunjin did. He found you on the rooftop, away from the flashing cameras and empty conversations. You were sitting alone, high heels off, feet dangling over the edge. You didn't look surprised when he approached. "You're missing your party," he said gently. "So are you." He sat beside you, careful to keep a little distance. You were quiet for a long time. Then you said, "Do you know how exhausting it is to be a strong woman?" He blinked. "I can imagine." "No, you can't." You turned your head slightly. "You know what people see when they look at me? Power, money. They don't ask if I'm tired, or if I cry, or if I ever just want someone to tell me it's okay to rest." Hyunjin didn't know what to say, so he didn't say anything. He just listened. You exhaled. "Sorry, that's not your problem." "It doesn't have to be a problem," he said softly. "Maybe it's just something you need to say out loud." You looked at him then. Really looked. The moonlight hit his face just right, and you saw it again, that warmth. That quiet, steady presence that made you feel safe. Without warning, a tear slipped down your cheek. You wiped it quickly, but he saw. "I'm not judging you," he said. "I know." And then, before you could stop yourself, you said it. "Sometimes I wish someone would just hold me and say I did well. Like I'm not a CEO. Like I'm just me." He didn't respond. He simply reached out, slow and careful, and took your hand. You didn't pull away. The next few days were strange. You kept replaying that night in your head, over and over. The rooftop, the honesty, the way he didn't treat you like a title, the way he held your hand like it wasn't a big deal, but it was. No one had touched you like that in years. Not since you learned that love in this industry always came with conditions. You avoided him after that. Not coldly, just professionally. You showed up less. Sent your assistant to meetings. But Hyunjin noticed. He texted you once. Did I cross a line? You stared at the message for 5 minutes before replying. No, you were kind. That scared me. He didn't reply for a while. Then, you don't have to be scared. I'm not expecting anything. You smiled. A sad, grateful smile. Weeks passed. His drama aired. His role wasn't huge, but he stole every scene he was in. The buzz started. Social media lit up. Who's that guy? Hyunjin's eyes are insane. The way he acts like he's actually in love? You watched quietly, from the shadows, like always. You were proud, but you didn't say it. One night, your assistant barged in, breathless. Hyunjin collapsed. You stood so fast your chair nearly fell. What happened? Overworked. He hasn't been eating. Filming 2 projects back to back. He's at the hospital. You were there within 30 minutes. He was asleep when you arrived, hooked up to N4. His skin looked too pale under the fluorescent lights. You sat by his bed and looked at him for a long time. He mumbled in his sleep. Don't leave. You froze. Stay, he whispered. You swallowed hard, your chest tightening. You reached for his hand. I'm here. He didn't wake up, but his fingers curled around yours. The next morning, he opened his eyes slowly. You were there, asleep in the chair, your head resting on the edge of the bed. Your hand still in his. He stared at you, stunned. You stayed. You stirred, blinking awake. Of course I did. He sat up slightly. You didn't have to. I wanted to. He looked at you. Something shifted in his expression. You care about me. You didn't respond right away. Then you said quietly, too much. He let out a breath. Why does that sound like a bad thing? You stood. Because I don't know what to do with it. He nodded slowly. Can I help you figure it out? You froze. No one had ever asked you that. No one had ever offered to hold space for you like that. You felt the walls you'd built over years start to crack. Just a little. I don't know how to be loved, you whispered. Hyunjin reached out. His fingers brushed yours. Then let me show you. The elevator dinged outside. Your assistant's voice called, Seoul? There's a call from the board, urgent. You pulled your hand away quickly, stepping back. Reality rushed in. I have to go, you said. Wait, Hyunjin stood. You don't have to pretend when you're with me. But you already had your mask back on. I'm your CEO, you said, voice cool. Let's not forget that. The door closed behind you. Hyunjin stared after you, heart sinking. And somewhere deep inside you, the child you used to be whispered, don't push him away. But it was too late. Or was it? You threw yourself into work like it could erase the night before. Meetings, emails, calls. It was easier to focus on numbers than on feelings. Safer. But safety had never felt so lonely. Every time your phone buzzed, you hoped it was Hyunjin. But he didn't text. He didn't call. And the silence said everything. You told yourself that was good. He gave you space. Time to rebuild the walls. But at night, when you were finally alone in your apartment, silence wasn't comforting. It was deafening. And that night, you did something you hadn't done in years. You cried. Not quiet, graceful tears. The kind that catch you off guard. That break through everything you've buried. You sat on the kitchen floor in your designer clothes and cried like a child who didn't know how to be loved. And somewhere between the sobs, you whispered his name. Hyunjin was quiet too, but not detached. He kept rehearsing the way you looked when you pulled your hand away. The way your voice changed when you slipped back into being the CEO. He wasn't hurt, just heartbroken. Because he knew. You were scared. He started writing letters he never sent. I know you push people away before they can leave first. I'm not going anywhere. Even if I have to stand on the other side of the door until you're ready. He deleted them all. A week passed. Then 2. Your assistant mentioned Hyunjin's name in a meeting, and you almost flinched. He was cast in a new drama. The buzz was louder than ever. He was finally rising, and he didn't need you anymore. But that wasn't what hurt. What hurt was realizing you missed him not as your actor, not as your project, but as the one person who made you feel seen. You watched his drama alone, curled up on the couch like it was armor. There was a scene. He stood in the rain, facing the woman who broke his heart. The dialogue wasn't scripted. "I don't need you to fix everything," he said. "I just need to know that I'm not the only one feeling this." His voice cracked on the last word. You covered your mouth. You knew that look in his eyes. It wasn't acting. He was talking to you. You showed up on set the next day, unannounced. He was in the middle of filming, laughing with the staff, bright and easy like the version of him the world adored. When he saw you, the smile faded just slightly, not out of anger but confusion. He walked over slowly. "You came," he said. "I watched the drama," you replied. "That scene. It wasn't in the script." He didn't look away. "No, it wasn't." You nodded. "You looked like you were talking to someone." "I was." The silence between you stretched. It wasn't uncomfortable, just heavy. "I didn't know how to respond," you said softly. "You still don't." "I'm scared." "I know." Another pause. Then you took a breath. "You said once that you don't expect anything. Is that still true?" He nodded, eyes soft. "I don't need anything from you, but I'll wait." "Why?" "Because when you smiled on that rooftop, just for a second, I saw the real you, and I've never wanted to protect something more." You blinked fast. Once, twice. "I don't know how to let anyone in." "You don't have to open the whole door," he whispered. "Just leave the light on." That night you wrote him a letter. "When I was a little girl, I thought love was loud. Fireworks. Grand gestures. Now I know love is soft. Quiet. It's someone remembering your coffee order. It's someone not walking away when you break a little. Thank you for not walking away." You folded it, sealed it, never sent it. But the next day you showed up again. This time not as a CEO. No briefcase, no clipboard, just you. He was sitting on a bench outside the studio, watching the sky. You sat beside him, knees almost touching but not quite. "I'm trying," you said. He looked at you. "That's all I ever needed." As the sun dipped behind the buildings, casting the world in soft gold, you let the quiet settle between you. You weren't his CEO. He wasn't your rising star. You were just two people, broken, brave, and trying to believe that love didn't have to be earned. That maybe, just maybe, being enough was enough. But just as peace began to find its place between you, your phone buzzed. An emergency board meeting. Investors questioning your involvement with Hyunjin. Rumors had started. Whispers. Headlines. Photos. You stood, panic flickering in your eyes. Hyunjin watched you. "Go," he said gently. "Do what you have to." You nodded, torn. But just as you turned to leave, he said one last thing. "Don't let them scare you into pretending again." You froze. Then you left. And for the first time, Hyunjin didn't know if you'd come back. The boardroom felt colder than usual. You sat at the head of the table, surrounded by men in suits who barely met your eyes. For years, they respected you. Now they questioned you. "Your relationship with Hyunjin is creating noise," one of them said. "The company's image is on the line." You didn't flinch. "He's one of our actors. The best we've had in years." "That's not what people are talking about." You looked up slowly. "Do I need to apologize for being human?" Silence. You could feel their judgment tightening around you like a rope. But you also knew something they didn't. You were done hiding. "I've built this company from nothing," you said, voice calm but firm. "I've sacrificed everything. And if you're asking me to trade the only real connection I've made in years, the answer is no." They didn't expect that. Not from the woman who used to never show emotion. You stood. "This meeting is over." Later that night, you stood in the elevator of Hyunjin's apartment building, heart pounding like it was trying to escape your chest. You almost didn't press the button. But then you remembered his voice, soft, steady. "Just leave the light on." You knocked once, then again. No answer. You closed your eyes, forehead resting against the door. "I don't know if I'm too late," you whispered. "But I needed you to know." I didn't walk away. The door opened slowly. Hyunjin stood there, eyes tired but gentle. You didn't call, he said. I wanted to see you in person. He stepped aside. You didn't enter. You just stood there, breathing the same air, feeling the weight of everything unsaid. I told them, you said, that I wouldn't pretend anymore. He looked at you for a long moment. And now, I'm still scared. I don't need you to be brave, he said. Just honest. You swallowed. Then, with a voice barely above a whisper, you said, I think I've loved you since the night you said you'd wait. His expression didn't change, but his eyes turned glassy. I think I've been waiting for someone like you since long before I even met you, he said. And still, you didn't touch, because this wasn't about holding hands or hugging. It was about standing in the doorway of each other's pain and staying anyway. The weeks that followed weren't perfect. There were rumors, whispers, headlines that tried to twist your story into something it wasn't. But the people who mattered stayed. And one day, after a long day on set, Hyunjin called you. Not to ask for anything, just to talk. You sat on your balcony, the city glowing below, and listened to his voice like it was your favorite song. I was watching the sunset, he said, and I thought of you. You smiled. Why? Because it reminded me that beautiful things don't last forever, but they're still worth looking at. Are you saying I'm temporary? No, he said softly. I'm saying that even if you leave one day, I'd still be glad I loved you. You didn't reply. You couldn't. Your voice was stuck somewhere behind the ache in your chest. Tears slipped down your face, silent, unnoticed by anyone but yourself. For the first time, you didn't wipe them away. But just as things began to settle, as the world started accepting the quiet presence of you in Hyunjin's life, something changed. A script landed on his desk. A role that would take him to Europe. 8 months. Career-defining opportunity. You found out before he told you. His manager slipped, not realizing you didn't know. You waited, and finally, one evening, he came to your office, eyes flickering with hesitation. You gestured for him to sit. He didn't. I wasn't hiding it, he said quietly. I know. I didn't want to make you feel like you had to choose. Between what? Between waiting for me or protecting yourself. You looked at him, your heart quietly fracturing. How long? You asked. 8 months. Maybe more. You nodded slowly. And you'll go. I think I have to. A pause. Then you smiled. A real one, even though it hurt. Then go. He stared. You're not upset? Of course I am. Then why? Because I love you enough to let you chase the thing that lights you up. You took a shaky breath. But I won't wait in the way people think I should. I won't count days. I won't expect phone calls. I'll just hold space for you. And if you come back, I'll still be here. His eyes welled up. You always surprise me. Don't come back for me, you whispered. Come back because you want to. He nodded slowly. I already do. You didn't say goodbye. Not with words. Not with touch. Just with a look that said everything. Months passed. Your days were quiet again, but no longer empty. You didn't cry like before. You smiled sometimes, when you remembered how he used to say your name like it was something fragile. And then one day a package arrived. No note, just a script. The title page read, CEO's Secret Love, written by Hyunjin. The dedication said, for the one who taught me what love sounds like in silence. You turned the first page, and your phone buzzed. You picked it up with trembling hands. One word. Outside. Your heart raced. You stood. Walked to the door. Opened it. And there he was. No spotlight. No press. Just Hyunjin. Looking at you like you were still the one thing he wanted in the entire world. You didn't say anything. You didn't need to. Because some love stories don't need an ending. Just a pause. A heartbeat. And a promise that says, I'm still here.